Well, things are hotting up between Disney and the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, because the ongoing feud has now bubbled up to the point that Disney is suing the Florida governor. Interesting turn of events, actually. Very, very interesting turn of events. I wonder, and I'm going to be very, very keen to see how this plays out. I wonder how this plays out in the Florida courts. Because, Governor Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida. The courts, yes, they are different, etc. But, a lot of people have very, very similar viewpoints. They voted for the governor, Ron DeSantis. He had a pretty strong turnout, to be fair. And I don't know. I just don't see this going that far with Disney. Because Disney is suing for retaliation and free speech, basically. And sort of like being oppressed, I guess. And Ron DeSantis weaponizing the local government against them. But it's interesting because in doing so, Disney's opened themselves up to other layers of critique. Because the Reedy Creek Improvement District was supposed to be, a sort of a separate element to Disney itself. But then they've referenced that as well. So this will be very, very interesting. This will genuinely be interesting. And I wonder what will happen if it doesn't go the way Disney wants it to go. But let's take a look at this, ladies and gents. Hit subscribe if you're new here. The war between Walt Disney Company and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis just opened up a whole new front in the courts. And it is. I mean, I don't know if this is unprecedented, but it's pretty bloody. It's up there. After months of battling with the likely GOP presidential contender and his personally appointed board over jurisdiction and control of Orlando-based Walt Disney World. Again, it's not just that, guys. It's not just that. And it's now besieged special district status, which is a privilege. It's not a right. The House of Mouse today took the white gloves off and sued the governor in federal court. I'm going to be so fascinated to see where this goes. I really, really will. This will be interesting. So this is what they say. Disney regrets that it has come to this, the company said in its complaint. But having exhausted efforts to seek a resolution, the company is left with no choice but to file this lawsuit to protect, and this is what doesn't make any sense, its cast members, guests and local development partners. Sounds more specifically financial interests is what I would say we can round that up to. From a relentless campaign to weaponize government power against Disney in retaliation for expressing a political viewpoint unpopular with certain state officials. That's interesting. I didn't think it was. I don't think it was politics. We keep getting told that these are not politics, not a political issue. Oh, well, anyway, interesting. In a showdown that has been brewing and boiling as DeSantis' presidential ambitions have grown, the Bob Iger-run media giant claims that the Sunshine State governor has enacted a policy of retaliation against Disney because of its opposition to one of his priorities, a parental rights bill, weaponized against him to be called the Don't Say Gay law, because that's not what it was. It was just don't teach things inappropriate to kids of an inappropriate age. It was pretty standard, to be fair. But yeah, whatever. Wednesday's legal action followed votes by the DeSantis-picked board to void agreements that the previous Disney World Jurisdiction Board enacted in its last days over who would hold the reins on the sprawling theme park's 56-year-old tax district status. The governor has relentlessly attacked the company as a woke corporate. This is Deadline, by the way. As a woke corporation, and said this month that the Florida government is exploring a series of possible actions against it, including increasing oversight of ride safety, boosting assessment valuations of its properties, and even slapping tolls on the roads leading into its resorts. It even suggested that a state prison could be built nearby the theme parks. Well, I mean, let's disseminate that just briefly anyway. I mean, they are a woke company. To sort of deny that is nonsense. They are a woke company. But in terms of, what the Florida governor wants to do, I mean, increasing oversight of ride safety, that's not a bad thing. That's fine. Boosting assessment valuations of its properties? Meh. I mean, they are pretty much tax exempt. You know, this area, obviously not, just as an FYI, but the amount of tax that they could pay is insane by comparison to what they do. So, you know, I'm not going to cry a river over a massive corporation like Disney having to pay up. I don't understand why suddenly, you know, everyone hated on Elon Musk and was like, he should pay more tax, blah, 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 blah. And then Disney's come along and go, please give us our special tax district. That'd be great. And everyone's gone, yeah, keep Disney. What's the difference? Explain it to me. Like, genuinely explain it to me. Anyway, the lawsuit is rooted in DeSantis' efforts to strip the company of control of the Reedy Creek Improvement District, the entity established in 1967 that allowed the company to self-govern its sprawling Florida property. The district has oversight over such things as infrastructure, roads and development, and also has powers of taxation and the ability to take on bond debt. It's a privilege, it's not a right. It's not a right. Last year, after Disney, under then CEO Bob Chapek, came out against the DeSantis-backed parental rights bill, the governor moved to dissolve the special district, but surrounding counties raised alarms that it would leave them left to pay around $1 billion in the district debt. DeSantis then led an effort earlier this year to instead retain the district but place it under state control, with the governor having the power to appoint its members and confirmed by the state senate. Yet, as the state legislature moved in February toward passage of that DeSantis-backed Reedy Creek bill, the district's board, still under Disney's control, approved a development agreement with Walt Disney World. Those agreements ensure that the company would retain control. Basically, they're just closing ranks. I can see why this would piss people off. The Disney development agreement were approved in open meetings, albeit little media coverage, and drew attention only in the past month when DeSantis selected board members said that they had discovered that their authority was greatly constrained. DeSantis' critics, including GOP rival Donald Trump, said that the governor had gotten outfoxed by savvy Disney. I mean, they have. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes now. It will be very, very interesting. So Disney said in its lawsuit that a targeted campaign of government retaliation orchestrated at every step by Governor DeSantis as punishment for Disney's protected speech now threatens Disney's business operations, jeopardizes its economic future in the region, and violates its constitutional rights, because the legislative declaration retaliates against Disney for its protected speech. Disney is entitled to a declaratory judgment that the legislative declaration is unconstitutional and an order enjoining defendants from enforcing it. And we get a statement from DeSantis' communications director, Taryn, and she said, "We are unaware of any legal right that a company has to operate its own government or maintain special privileges not held by other businesses in the state." I mean, that makes sense. It's short and sweet. There is no legal right to that. That's the situation. So this is why I think this will be fascinating to see where this goes. This lawsuit is yet another unfortunate example of their hope to undermine the will of the Florida voters and operate outside the bounds of the law. Honestly, this will be really, really interesting to see where this goes, genuinely. And there's a last statement here as well. In claiming retaliation, Disney's lawsuit chronicles DeSantis' statements as he moved to dissolve the special district and let it take control of it. Governor DeSantis has left no doubt he harbored as to the impetus for his punishment. He wrote in an article to promote his book, "When corporations try to use their economic power to advance a woke agenda, they become political and not merely economic actors. Leaders must stand up and fight back when big corporations make the mistake, as Disney did, of using their economic might to advance a political agenda." I mean, they've literally said it was political, so that's interesting that they're now backtracking on that, but fine. There's a new sheriff in town, and that's just the way it's going to be. So, look, I mean, again, interesting. They're really up in the ante here. But we'll see where this goes. What do you guys think? Are you for Disney? Are you against Disney? Where do you think this is going to land? Again, they don't have a right. There's no legal right to maintain this. You know, it's a privilege, not a right. And this is where I think, they got some balls to do it. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Cheers, guys. Take care.